Hey guys, it's MGTOW Dad and I want to talk to you, and if you want to listen, I'd appreciate any feedback in any capacity below. That aside, I want to talk to you, especially if you're a younger male. If you end up enjoying this and there's merit to it, let me know. I will probably do a few more of these, and I'll do more if you enjoy it, but what this is taking a statement, a motto, or as I say, something you'll see on a bumper sticker or a shirt, and then unpacking it and looking at what it means both in terms of how you interpret it as the individual and what it means in relation to you and social compliance. And then I want to discuss my thoughts on what society is in another video, which is super important, more so as evidenced because I've touched on it a few times. But if you're walking away from society, which I think is what most, or at least many MGTOW are doing, you need to understand what society is, what you're walking away from, why you're walking away from it, and the consequences to that, because I often say or attribute this quote to Thomas Sowell because he said it better, so look it up, but he said something akin to, there are no solutions, no answers, there are only trade-offs and compromises. And that's very important. There is some loss attributed to every gain, and that's very important. And they're not always proportional. Not even the same decision. Once you make the same decision at some point in your life, you may get different consequences. Always expect that and understand that. So I was thinking about this a few months ago. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I told them that I wish in my life I had someone like me today telling me when I was younger the reality of MGTOW, the weight of our nature as males and how society is geared to exploit that. I specifically said that if I had someone like that telling me this throughout my life, it would have led me to a lot of truths a lot sooner with a lot less pain. And even if I had only listened to them one time out of 100, or sat down and thought about what they said one time out of 100 again, not only would my life have been better, more positive, more reality based, but a lot of those individual lessons in and of themselves are springboards. Because, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but once you start to see and be skeptical of certain things, you can't unsee other things. I look at things like Venn diagrams all the time, and once you see certain links between certain things you didn't know were connected prior, it's very hard to unsee them, and then it's hard to stop looking for certain things that have connections. Now, I have two sayings. One is pretty common in theme or substance, if not wording. The other not so much. The first is be skeptical of everything. In the Marine Corps, we were told trust, then verify. The next is smash any axiomatic thoughts that you have, and I'll unpack that here in a moment. I say nothing worth accepting in your life is worth doing so without taking a long time to think about it and reflect on it. Anything that can be said on a shirt or a bumper sticker needs to be unpacked because life is so full of nuance and perspective. So let's talk about being skeptical. It's hard, it's difficult, but it's extremely necessary. More so once you realize how many people will resent you for you making them feel as if they need to validate themselves, and more so when those people are the people who should have to defend themselves or, validate themselves, and likely because of things they had done in the past. Again, as a generality, you don't tend to need validation from people that you trust and from people who have been known to make good decisions. You seek the validation from people who have been known not to do that. Now, society wants to beat you into compliance. There is that saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. And questioning things leads to getting answers. So question everything, because the more answers you have. Remember, I'm not saying you don't have to adhere to something or you cannot accept something if you question it. And I'm not saying that there's no truth in anything. I'm saying accept it once you've thought about it honestly, and once you've challenged it and had others challenge it, and you could do that again. Listening to others honestly can be more difficult than speaking honestly, I believe. And so be skeptical of everything. What you've been taught in school, what you've been taught at church, things society expects, lessons your parents taught you. Most of all, though, be skeptical of yourself and the things that you hold most dear and most true. Those are the things you often need to focus on more than the external. The good part about, again, doing this is that one of two things will happen, in my opinion. Once you challenge yourself again from a place of honesty and integrity, let's say you believe A and you think about it and you become skeptical about it and you challenge it, and you speak to others, take their views into account, think about your past relationships with A, what it means, has your view changed in regards to A over time. There are countless ways to be skeptical and a myriad of questions you can go ahead and ask yourself, but what I'm getting at is once you do this, you're going to kind of realize, well, one possibility is you come to realize, wow, I really thought that I believed A, or I used to think A honestly, or I used to do A just because that's what is socially acceptable and that's what people do. But, now that I have thought about it critically and reevaluated it, I believe D, which is a beautiful thing. You realize you grew. That, again, is one of those moments where I'm a confrontationalist, I say so. In confronting yourself, you grow from that. You are not making empty statements or standing on hills with no substance below them. Again, you're taking well thought out positions after thinking about it. Or instead of saying I used to believe A or thought I believed A but I believe D, something arguably just as fulfilling is going through that entire process and focusing on the foundations and being critical of the structures of those arguments. Again, listening to the criticisms of others. And it is very beautiful, real, and just, again, it's spiritually enlifting when you challenge yourself. Again, the honesty is so important. And you can sit there and say to yourself or anyone else, I believe this because I believe it. I thought about it. I listened to others. I understand other views exist. I don't think other views are invalid. I just think this because I thought about this and that, and I did the math here, and it's what I believe. And it's because I took the time to evaluate myself, take all these measures. I didn't just say, I'm a this, and you need to believe it. I'm a good this, and if you don't believe me, something's wrong with you. Maybe, again, it's important to, even in those moments where you think someone is wrong, take the moment to make sure they are wrong. Not just that you're dismissing someone because in that moment you don't feel like they could be right. There's a big difference. So once you're able to start being skeptical, axiomatic thoughts are next, and they again come kind of hand in hand. And I describe axiomatic thoughts or axioms as the things that we say and believe and act on with the faith that the foundation and structure of those beliefs and actions and all that are true. Generally speaking, those axioms are societally based. Sometimes a little bit more narrowly so, where you have maybe religious axioms, ethnic axioms, all these things. It's important to be aware of what these are. So the interesting dynamic there is axiomatic thoughts depend on you not thinking about something, but under the premise that, again, the hope and the faith that I don't have to think about it because everything about it is tested and true. It's not immoral, it's good, it's what society, and it benefits society and people and me. That is axiomatic thought. And the other side of that is being skeptical of that, a complete lack of faith. It's an interesting dynamic because you kind of have to be willing to challenge your faith. Not a lot of people are willing to do that. And again, they don't see the benefit of you coming to the place after where your faith is either stronger than it was before in the same thing, or your faith is better placed in what now you've come to the realization is well thought out, well structured. There's strength to the foundation to stand on, and it's not just an empty, vapid argument that you felt at a time, or that somebody told you at a time, or that was easy for you to believe at a time, or that sounded very, very catchy when someone read it off of a bumper sticker or a t-shirt. And some of those axioms somewhat vaguely are, men are this, women are not that. This minority group, which is A, needs B, but that group over there, which is B, needs C, and this group can't do that, and that group has eternal that and deals with that. A good this should never do that. If you want to be this, then you must definitely have to do that. These are all axioms that, again, deserve to be challenged. The most powerful question is why? I use this example, and it's a thought exercise for myself. And again, if it's not accurate or something in it is flawed, let me know below, because I put these things out there to be challenged. Let's say you have Fred. He is an island native and has never been introduced to Christianity. But he lives a life of virtue, not only in the eyes of his immediate society, but everything Christianity stands for. He loves his wife and kids and community. He gets up every day thankful for the chance to live, to see his kids grow, thankful for the chance to grow old himself. He teaches his children the same. He makes sure to hold himself to account and not be hypocritical. He strives to be the person he wants to be, the person he says he is, but also to be able to listen to others with honesty, see their perspectives, and take them into account. Then you have Brad. He's an American Christian. He goes to church and does what a Christian should, gives them the money that they say they should give, and sure, he sins here and there, but it's okay. Sin is in all of us, and we need to just repent and accept this and make sure we honor the church. Then Brad goes home and drinks and punches his wife, berates his kids, doesn't raise them morally, and maybe he's Catholic and goes and does his confessions. But the point is, Brad is going to go to heaven, and Fred is going to go to hell because Fred embodies Christianity. Because while Fred embodies what Christianity says it is, he didn't do the little checklist of the things that one must do to accept God and get into heaven. Fred has no place in heaven besides God. He is filthy and ungodly. Unlike Brad, Brad did the things that Christianity says makes a good Christian, checked off all of the boxes, and is one who will have his sins absolved. Now, to me, that doesn't make sense, but it's what Christians believe. And I'm not saying all Christians believe this, but I'm saying since I was introduced to Christianity 5 or 6 or 4, whatever, and to this day, I know Christians who believe exactly that. They can live the most immoral lives as long as they check those boxes. And people like me, people who are different, people of different religions, people who don't understand religion, they're all different. They're not godly. They don't do the check boxes that I do. That's different. That doesn't make sense to me. So I challenge those things. But there are people who will bristle at being challenged with that. So be skeptical of everything. Avoid empty, reflexive, axiomatic thoughts and actions. And when someone says something like, happy wife, happy life, challenge it. Think about it at least. When I say challenge it, I don't say challenge them. Challenge the thought. That's very different. Or if someone asks you, hey man, you're getting up there, when are you going to get married? Challenge that thought. Or when someone like me on a computer tells you something, challenge that thought. Retain all those perspectives, those thoughts, because they're tools, things for you to use. They're not something for you to blindly swallow. You wouldn't do it with a pill. Don't base your life off someone telling you things without smashing those axioms and being skeptical, trusting and then verify. It's very important. Think about everything, be skeptical, but more importantly, go easy.